Welcome, deep divers. Today, we're taking you on a journey into a real-life nightmare. It's a story that will definitely give you chills, but at the same time, it's also packed with, well, incredible inspiration. We're looking at the story of Alison Botha. This happened in Port Elizabeth, South Africa, back in 1994. It was a crime just so horrific, it really shook the entire nation. But it also turned a victim into this amazing symbol of strength.
Yeah.
So picture this. A cold winter night, beautiful coastal city, but something terrible is about to happen.
And what's really compelling about this goes beyond just being a crime statistic. It's this incredible, almost unbelievable fight for survival against impossible odds.
Right.
Alison didn't just survive the event. She took that awful personal tragedy and turned it into this global message of hope. It's quite something.
It really is. Okay, so let's set the scene a bit more. Alison Botha, born September 22, 1967, in Port Elizabeth. And Port Elizabeth, for anyone who doesn't know, it's known for like beautiful beaches, national parks, really vibrant culture.
It's a scenic place.
Her parents divorced when she was about 10. She grew up with her mom. Sounds like she was bright, curious, very loved. A natural leader, too, was class president in high school. After school, she took a gap year, did some traveling, found herself a bit. By 23, she was doing really well as an insurance broker, loved her job. So at 27, the time of the attack, she's happy, living in her own apartment, still super close with her mom, having dinner together often, just content, you know? Not comparing herself, finding joy in the everyday stuff.
And that contentment, that groundedness, it seems almost like a small detail, but it's actually quite significant. Often, having that strong sense of self, that connection to normal life, you can become this unexpected anchor when trauma hits.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So that core identity helps you hold on when everything else is just falling apart. It's part of her inner strength, I think. Yeah.
A really vital point. That simple, happy life, it was about to be shattered. The night was December 18th, 1994. Cold night. Alison had been out with friends, first at the beach, then back at her place. After midnight, people started leaving. She offered lifts home to friends who needed them, so she drops off the last friend, gets back to her apartment complex, pulls into her parking spot. She reaches into the back seat for a laundry bag, and then she hears it, a click.
Oh, no.
Her passenger door opens. There's a man standing there, holding a shiny silver knife. His words were chillingly simple. Move to the passenger seat or you die.
Wow.
Terrified, she instantly did what he said. He gets in, introduces himself as Clinton, which we find out later is Frans Toit. He tells her he just wants to borrow the car for an hour. Sit with me, he says. She's frozen, doesn't resist.
That initial deception, the borrowing the car line, it's a classic tactic, unfortunately. It disorients the victim, creates this false sense that maybe things aren't that bad, you know?
Right.
Then when that illusion shatters, the terror is just amplified. It's an immediate, brutal violation.
And it escalated really fast. Frans Toit didn't stay alone in the car. He drives a bit, then kicks up a second guy, Frans Kuger. Alison's fear just spikes. She's imagining the absolute worst, thinking she'll never see her family again.
Understandably.
They drive out of the city, south of the university campus, into this really desolate, bushy area, remote, silent, freezing cold, nobody around. They stop the car, and then they tell her, "We want to have sex with you. If you resist, we'll show you what hell on earth feels like."
Oh, God.
Both men, Frans and Theon, had prior records for sexual assault, and they proceeded to brutally rape her repeatedly. They choked her until she could barely breathe, beat her. Sources say the violence was just exceptionally cruel, even compared to their past crimes.
This is pure brutality.
After the assault, they didn't just leave, they actually mocked her for trying to stay alive through it all. And then they decided they were going to kill her. It became clear they never planned on letting her go.
They had already decided her fate.
Frans took that same silver knife and stabbed her 37 times. In her lower abdomen, the genital area. It was like he was deliberately trying to destroy her uterus, her ovaries, her very femininity.
Horrific.
But then, something truly incredible happened. A miracle, really. None of those 37 stabs hit a major artery. She didn't die.
37 times.
Yeah.
Medically, the odds of surviving that with wounds concentrated in such a vital area, it's astronomical. Avoiding fatal hemorrhage like that is, well, you use the word miracle and it's hard to argue. It defies probability.
Absolutely. The attackers, they were speaking accolades, talking to each other. One asked, "Do you think she'll survive?"
Yeah.
They said, "No, she can't." But then they saw her move slightly and they decided, we need to do more. What they did next, it's almost impossible to describe. They got on top of her, straddled her, and just started slashing at her throat with the knife 17 times.
17.
Alison later described it. She said, "I heard my flesh being cut. Cold air followed the wounds. I felt liquid flowing all over me." She said she tried to forget the pain because she just didn't know what more pain could even feel like. She was numb.
Completely overwhelmed.
Shocked. Convinced she was finally dead, they got back in her car and drove off. Left her there. Freezing cold, bleeding profusely. Didn't even try to hide what they'd done.
And that arrogance, that absolute certainty that she was dead, that was their mistake. Criminal psychology tells us this kind of complacency, believing you've succeeded absolutely, it often leads to carelessness, leaving evidence, not covering tracks.
Right.
For Alison, their horrifying certainty ironically gave her that one last desperate chance.
Lying there feeling like her body was just shattering. She thought she was dying. But she decided if this was it, she'd leave a message. Using her own blood, she wrote Clinton, his fake name, in the dirt next to her.
Wow. Even then, thinking.
And then something shifted. She gathered some impossible strength and she wrote 2 more words. "Love you, Mom." And that act, writing that message to her mother, it changed everything. It sparked something. She suddenly realized, I have people who love me. I want to live. If she was still breathing, maybe she could still fight.
That specific act, "Love you, Mom," it's so powerful. Survival psychology highlights this all the time. Having that external motivator, something or someone to live for, it can trigger this deep, primal need to persevere.
Yeah.
It shifts your focus, even for a second, from the overwhelming pain to a reason to endure it. It wasn't just words. It was her reclaiming her will to live.
Absolutely. So she's lying face down. She can just make out a road nearby. That becomes her goal. Get to the road. Maybe someone will come. She tries to push herself up to crawl. But as she lifts her head, it just wobbles.
Oh, God.
Her throat was cut so badly, her head was barely attached to her shoulders. She realized she had to use one hand just to hold her head steady, to stop it tearing more.
Unimaginable.
Then she tries to get up to stand. And she feels this warm, wet spilling from her stomach wounds. Her intestines are starting to come out. So picture this. One hand holding her head in place, the other hand literally pushing her own intestines back inside her body. And she starts to walk towards the road, she said later. "My eyes started to blur. I almost fell many times, but I kept walking. If I fell, I would get back up."
Just sheer will.
She just kept going step after step until finally her feet touched the tarmac edge of the road. And there she collapsed, unconscious, but holding onto that sliver of hope.
That sequence. Holding her head, holding her insides, walking. It pushes the limits of what we think the human body and mind can endure. Emergency medicine sees extreme cases, but this, it shows how the brain can sometimes override unimaginable pain and physical damage when there's a clear life or death goal.
Truly defies explanation.
It's that survival instinct manifesting in a way that's, well, it's almost beyond medical understanding.
And then another miracle. Late at night on this desolate road, a veterinary student named Theon happens to be driving there. An unusual route for him. He sees her, stops immediately, does what little first aid he can, calls for help.
Right place, right time, or maybe something more.
Theon himself later said it felt like God had planned it for him to be there, just at that moment. Alison was rushed to hospital, emergency surgery, more operations followed, and incredibly, she survived. Her surgeon, who had 16 years of experience, said he had never seen anyone survive injuries like that. He called it a genuine miracle.
And you could see why.
The case just blew up. National news everywhere in South Africa. The public were horrified, outraged. There was immense pressure on the police to act, which was unusual. Sometimes investigations there could be slow.
Yeah, that public reaction was significant. South Africa in the 90s had high crime rates. People were somewhat desensitized. But the sheer barbarity of this attack, combined with her miraculous survival, it tapped into this collective nerve.
Right.
It forced people to pay attention, demand justice. Yeah. And that definitely sped up the investigation in a way that didn't always happen.
And Alison herself played a crucial role. Once she recovered enough, she bravely helped the police, gave detailed descriptions. Police used those descriptions, profiled criminals with similar MOs. They put together a lineup. And Alison, without hesitation, identified Frans Toit and Theon Kuger. Both already had records.
But her memory was clear despite the trauma.
Exactly. And because the attackers thought she was dead, they hadn't bothered to flee far. They'd even left her car nearby. Made them easy to track. They were arrested within days.
Their arrogance again.
Totally. Plus, the DNA evidence from the assault was a perfect match. They confessed. Alison went through the grueling process of helping police, testifying in court, reliving it all over and over. She famously said, "I know my life is too valuable to let them destroy it, and it made me brave enough to survive no matter how difficult."
Such powerful words.
In 1995, both men were convicted. 8 charges: kidnapping, rape, attempted murder, assault. Sentenced to life imprisonment.
Her courage in testifying. You can't overstate its impact. Back then, many victims of sexual assault understandably chose anonymity or found the court process itself too re-traumatizing.
Yeah.
Alison facing them, speaking out publicly. It wasn't just about getting justice for herself. It sent a huge message. It empowered others, really helped spark change.
Absolutely. And Alison never hid the physical scars, the ones on her neck, her abdomen. She wore them openly. She transformed this horrific trauma into this incredibly powerful message, became a motivational speaker, an advocate against sexual violence. She saw her scars not as reminders of victimhood, but as symbols of survival.
Yeah, reclaiming the narrative.
She traveled the world, something like 35 countries, sharing her story. She always emphasized, it's not the victim who should be ashamed, it's the perpetrators.
Absolutely right. Shifting the shame where it belongs.
She received tons of awards: People of the Year in South Africa, the Rotarian Paul Harris Award for Courage, Feminine Magazine's Bravest Woman. And then, maybe the most amazing part. In 2003, she's 36 years old. Remember those horrific abdominal injuries aimed at destroying her ability to have children?
Yes.
Against all odds, she gave birth to her first child, a son.
Wow, that's incredible.
Later had a second son, found immense joy in being a mother. She wrote a book, I Have Life, which inspired so many. Her story also became a documentary in 2016, simply called Alison. She was heavily involved, wanted it to be authentic. She even shared her story live with audiences afterwards.
That's amazing dedication.
Her goal was always just to share her story, hoping it would give others hope, courage, strength for their own battles.
It's a profound example of what psychologists call post-traumatic growth.
Yeah.
You know, the idea that experiencing trauma, while devastating, can sometimes lead to positive psychological changes.
The deeper appreciation for life. Exactly. Stronger relationships, new priorities, a greater sense of purpose. Alison embodies that. Her quote is perfect. Life is not about one event that happened to you, but life is what you choose to respond to those events. It's about taking back control.
Powerful stuff. But, you know, her fight wasn't over just when you think she's been through enough. In 2023, news broke that sent shockwaves. The South African Department of Justice was reviewing Frans Toit and Theon Kuger for parole.
Oh no, after all this time.
Yeah, they'd served 28 years. In South Africa, life sentences often come up for parole review after 25 years. It was technically automatic, but still. Alison was terrified. She had never imagined they'd actually get out, and the public reaction was immediate outrage.
I can imagine.
People were asking why release these men. They showed no remorse. They were still dangerous. Alison posted on Facebook something like, "The day I prayed would never come has arrived. My fear is still etched in the wounds on my abdomen and neck. This is the violence that burdens women." It was heartbreaking.
Then, under all this stress, in 2024, Alison, now 56, suffered a brain aneurysm, a really serious, life-threatening condition.
Oh my goodness. As if she needed more to deal with.
Right. But even while battling this critical illness, she kept fighting against their parole. Unbelievable resilience.
It really highlights the ongoing trauma victims face, doesn't it? Parole hearings can force them to relive everything, especially when the perpetrators haven't changed. Her fighting on, despite her health, it speaks volumes about her commitment, not just for herself, but for others too.
And finally, some good news. Late March 2025, the announcement came. Authorities reviewed the case and decided Frans Toit and Theon Kuger would remain in prison for life. Community safety, especially for women and children, was the priority.
Thank goodness. The right decision.
Alison thanked everyone who supported her and vowed to keep fighting her illness. She said, basically, if she survived that attack, she'd survive this too.
What a spirit. And her philosophy remains so strong. That quote you mentioned earlier, no matter what you encounter, live life to the fullest. She talks about obstacles like mending cracks in life, saying even the worst cracks eventually end. It's such a message of hope. Not just for victims, but for anyone facing hardship. It's about choosing life, choosing joy, despite everything.
It really is an incredible journey, from that absolute nightmare to this enduring symbol of human strength. Alison Botha's story. It makes you think about scars, doesn't it? Sometimes they just remind you of the pain, but other times they show you've moved past it. You've healed, you've mended that crack. They become symbols of resilience. And it brings you back to those simple things she valued, like dinner with her mom. Reminds you how precious every single moment is. We'd love to know what you think about Alison's incredible story. Please comment, chat with us about it.
And maybe it leaves us all with a question to think about. Do we define ourselves by the wounds we carry, or by our capacity to heal and rise above them?
Thank you for joining us for this deep dive today. If you appreciate these kinds of chilling true crime stories and the insights we try to bring, please do like, share, and subscribe to our Horror Doc channel. Please take care of yourselves. We'll see you next time. For today, goodbye.